Good morning. My name is Jacqueline Brown. I teach 8th grade language arts.
Good morning. My name is Jeracia Williams. I also teach 8th grade language arts at Williamson High School.
Good morning. I'm Keelia Fagan. I teach 8th grade language arts at Green Bay Middle School.
I'm Alex Young. I teach 8th grade at Phillips.
And just something that our group wanted to let you guys know. We are all products of Mobile County Public School System. All of us attended a Mobile County Public School, and now we're here and excited about giving back to our schools, our community, our students, as well as our parents.
All right. So this is an overview that every student will have within their textbook, and parents, you are able to access it online as well, especially pending if your teacher uploads PDF, which most likely they tend to. How we give instruction typically goes through 3 different stages to help build confidence with our students. The first stage is typically a whole group lesson. This pertains to whenever students are fully engaged in the full classroom aspect of learning. The teacher is typically up at the front. They're giving some sort of presentation and they're guiding the student hand and foot through the couple of readings that we go through. How our whole group learning typically starts off is with a longer passage that builds up with different skills and different aspects of close reading and comprehension, and it also entails some kind of media that they attach along with it through our Savas My Perspectives book. Small group learning is whenever our teachers will then break up students, typically with partners, and this is when students will then work and collaborate with one another to help them use those same skills that we use in whole group lesson and try to build up more individual confidence with the help of a peer or a table of friends. Independent, this is whenever we go into individualized learning. Our students will be given 1 to 4 of these passages, and they'll then be able to apply those skills that we've worked on throughout the entirety of the unit. And for us right now, our units are an entire quarter. So throughout the entirety of a whole quarter, these students are building these same skills and using them from whole group to small group and then on to independent application.
So specifically for Unit 1, starting out in Quarter 1, we are focusing on milestones in 8th grade. And our essential question follows us throughout the entire quarter. It is, what are some milestones on the path to growing up? So we're going to jump right in this morning and start with a close reading of the medicine bag. My colleagues are going to pass out the PDFs of it. So for this, you will need a highlighter, a pen, and a handout.
All right, this lesson that you all are going to experience today, this is a close read lesson. And this is the type of lesson that your child will be walked through throughout whole group. And they'll have the help of the teacher walking them through it. Excuse me. Whenever they are close reading, even within their groups, they'll use these same strategies, annotating the text. Close reading falls under the critical literacy standards, and these critical literacy standards are some of our biggest standards. Standards 1 through 5 are what these kids will really need to understand to test well on ACAP. So this standard says we're going to analyze how authors use key literacy elements, including setting, plot, theme, characters, internal and external conflict, dialogue, and point of view to contribute to the meaning and purpose of a text using evidence as support. Sorry guys, a little nervous. The learning target, each lesson that we plan, your students will have a learning target that will be posted in their room so they know and understand what's expected of them before, during, and after the lesson. So the learning target for this lesson is the students will be able to analyze and discuss author's purpose and characterizations. So after reading this text, you'll be able to tell me why the author put certain things in the text to help you get the meaning. Whenever we do close reading, we go through 2 phases. The first read is just a familiarity read. We read through with the kids, let them get familiar with the content. They identify any vocabulary that they don't understand so that by the time we get to the second read and we're digging a little deeper, they have a little bit more of the basic understanding so they can complete the critical literacy skill. So today we're going to practice going through the second read. Throughout our second read, we're going to annotate. We said that close reading causes for you to annotate in the text. Whenever a good reader reads, they always read with a highlighter and a pen in hand so that you can follow the story. You can highlight information. You can star the key details. Those are those big ideas. Anything that's just interesting to you and you love it, we give it an exclamation mark. If you are reading something and you don't really want to interrupt the class and raise your hand, we just always put the question mark. You can ask then, you can ask afterwards, but we always let kids know that it's room to wonder in reading. Anytime we're doing the first reading, we identify words that we don't know. We circle them because they're unfamiliar. We even circle important words that we'll need to revisit because you do have a vocabulary portion of your test. And we dash for context clues. Today we'll be using a lot of the STAR. During our second read, the questions to consider are what text features were used, what is the author's purpose, how does the author feel about the subject, and why did the author use particular words or phrases. Whenever you do an analysis, these questions, you'll wonder them in your head and you'll start to figure them out as you read, as long as you're annotating the text. So we're going to do a lesson together. We're going to complete a close read of your assigned text excerpt. Be sure to include the close reading keys and marks and any additional annotations which will help you better understand the text. So we're not going to read through the whole text because during the close read, that's the second read, we've already had the first read. So I'm going to instruct the class to let's look on page 15 of our text. If you look over to the side of the text, the kids' textbook, it'll have close read. That is going to direct them to the questions, the guiding questions that we're going to use throughout this lesson. So our first close read task says it's the annotation. The annotations tell us to mark details in paragraphs 12 through 13 and 18 through 21 that show how the narrator and Cheryl each greet Grandpa. So I need for you guys to read along with your eyes as I read aloud. I'm going to read paragraphs 13 through 21, and then I'm going to want you to talk with a partner at your table to discuss what that annotation, that close read annotation is talking about. Ready? When I say ready, set, you say read. Ready, set, read. I saw all I could do was stand there with the whole neighborhood watching and shake the hand of the leather brown old man.
Excuse me. You said at 13, right? On page 15.
No, the question is on 15. The question was on 15. I'm sorry, thank you for that, for redirecting us. We're going to start reading paragraph 12 is going to start on page 14. I'm sorry, the question is on the next page. Okay. Thank you, good looking out, student. See, that's a student on test. All right, so let's start over. Ready, set, read. All I could do was stand there with the whole neighborhood watching and shake the hand of the leather brown old man. I saw how his gray hair straggled from under his big black hat, which had a drooping feather in its crown. His rumpled black suit hung like a sack over his stooped frame. As he shook my hand, his coat fell open to expose a bright red satin shirt with a beaded bolo tie under the collar. His get-up wasn't out of place on the reservation, but it sure was here. And I wanted to sink right through the pavement. "Hi," I muttered with my head down. I tried to pull my hand away when I felt his bony hand trembling and then looked up to see fatigue in his face. I felt like crying. I couldn't think of anything to say, so I picked up Grandpa's suitcase, took his arm, and guided him up the driveway to our house. Mom was standing on the steps. I don't know how long she'd been watching, but her hand was over her mouth and she looked as if she couldn't believe what she saw. Then she ran to us. "Grandpa," she gasped, "how in the world did you get here?" She checked her move to embrace Grandpa, and I remembered that such a display of affection is unseemly to the Lakota and would have embarrassed him. "How, Marie?" he said as he shook Mom's hand. She smiled and took his other arm. As we supported him up the steps, the door banged open and Cheryl came bursting out of the house. She was all smiles and was so obviously glad to see Grandpa that I was ashamed of how I felt. "Grandpa," she yelled happily, "you came to see us." Grandpa smiled, and Mom and I let go of him as he stretched out his arms to my 10-year-old sister, who was still young enough to be hugged. All right, so we've read through that. Now, your directions, I'm going to give you a minute or two. I want you to reread what I read with you and mark details in paragraphs 12 through 13 and 18 through 21 that show how the narrator and Cheryl each greet Grandpa. I'm going to give you guys a minute because think time is very important to our 8th grade students. Some of them can multitask and would have been annotating as I was reading, but some are going to need that time to go back and really get themselves into the text. So I'll give you guys a minute. Thumbs up when you're ready to let me know that I can go ahead. You did now.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a few seconds. Let's finish up. All right, looks like I see a little bit of work still happening. All right. If you can hear the sound of my voice, clap once. All right, everybody's back on target. All right, let's talk a little bit about those annotations. Now, you have the analysis of the text and you have the information you need. Whatever you highlighted, that's where we would put that exclamation mark because those are key ideas for that question. Now, based off of what you've read, can you guys raise your hand and tell me, why are their greetings so different? Why are Cheryl and her brother's greetings so different? And there's no wrong answer because all answers are respected.
Cheryl and her brother greetings are different because Cheryl was younger. She still is enthusiastic about seeing her grandpa. The older child, even though they don't really state his age, is to guess that he's older and he's embarrassed by his grandfather coming into like suburbia in traditional Lakota attire, so he just mumbles to be polite.
Great job. Let's snap it up for our partner. Thumbs up if you agree. Raise hands if you have something to add. All right, everybody's in agreement with you. And as you can see, and throughout these questions, even with your student, if you look at the next question right underneath it, once she told us why their greetings were different, our next question says, what can you conclude about Martin and his sister by the way they greet Grandpa? She's already given us one conclusion, and she's talked about their age. There's another difference within them. It has to do with a mood or an emotion. They show different emotions. Who can distinguish the difference between the emotions of Cheryl and her older brother? And if you guys are a little confused and you need me to guide you there, just give me the hand signal showing me your little shape. But it's all dealing with emotions. Think about the characters' actions. What do their actions reveal about their emotions, how they feel about their grandpa? I'll lead you. Let's look into paragraph 19. Grandpa, Cheryl yelled happily. So Cheryl is happy to see Grandpa. That older brother shows another emotion, and it's due to his age. Our kids start to feel this way when we do certain things as they're getting older. What is the brother feeling? Embarrassment. Great job. So the difference is their age allows them to feel different emotions and view Grandpa differently. So clap it up for yourselves. You guys just did your first close read activity. And in the classroom, just to show you the cycle of instruction, after we've done a few of those together, your student will always end the class by having an independent portion. Sometimes it'll be a you do, sometimes it'll be a y'all do, which means they can work with their partners at their table. So today, you all are going to do a y'all do. I want everyone to turn to page 16. You see the close read questions over to the side. Thumbs up if you know what I'm talking about. You know where I'm at. All right. So I want you guys to work with your partner at your table. We're going to set a timer for about 3 minutes. I want you all to do 3 things for me. And we've done it together, so you have this. I need you to follow the annotation. I need you to answer the question. And I need you to draw a conclusion. Your teachers will be walking throughout the room as an extra resource if you need us. You guys can go ahead and start reading and talking now. All right, if you can hear my voice, clap once. All right, welcome back. Let's talk about that. So, and this is how the class will end. Your student will give feedback. They won't be left just doing the work and feeling like, I don't know, am I right? Because we're going to discuss it. And even when they are wrong, there's always a chance to fix it. That's how we're going to talk about it. So it said that we were supposed to note the language the author uses in paragraphs 31 through 32 that shows the difficulty of Grandpa's journey. Who can give me a few details from Grandpa's journey that showed his difficulty? Some of the things, the annotations you made about Grandpa's journey.
Grandpa was old and weak.
Okay, you know, he was old and weak. And think about his actions, because when characterizations come in place, you think about the things the characters say and do. You think about their actions, their speech, how they look. So we know that he looked old and weak. Let's talk about some of his actions that shows the difficulty in that journey. What are some of the actions that Grandpa went through for this little old weak man to have to go on this journey?
He had to ride the bus for 2.5 days.
He rode the bus for 2.5 days. Those are some important details that we should highlight.
He was tired and still from the long ride.
Great job, great job. Pat on the back.
said I walk into find them.
Great job, great job. All of those details are actions that shows that I had to ride a bus for 2 days. He ended up having to walk down the middle of the street because he could not properly see the signs. It shows that he had a hard time traveling, seeing. So all of those details tell us a lot about Grandpa. A lot of times in the text, most times in the text, there won't be a direct characterization. There'll be indirect, which means you have to use those context clues and build on your prior knowledge. And these are some things that your student will have to do. So even if they say they don't have homework, ask them, what story are you on in this unit? You don't have to have their textbooks to follow the story. There is an online textbook. So these are some of the skills that your 8th grader will need to properly navigate through 8th grade and be successful on ACAP, ACT, and any other test in the future. Any questions? At the end of a lesson like this, I usually would have a parking lot where kids would then be able to tell me any of those things they highlighted in the book that they had questions on. And then before we got any further into the lesson, we would touch on those so that your student feels successful. All right.
I know, what did you say, the school, you find the story?
Our online textbook, Savage, My Perspectives. This book here, we have the online copy, and you can access it through Clever. Your
Oh,
kids
Clever,
can-
okay.
You can access it through Clever for your
Okay,
class, your
thank you.
student's grade level.
And to clarify, your student has a big workbook that stays in our classroom where they get to highlight and mark up in
And
the
post.
text and it stays in the classroom. But they have the access at home, and when you log on, it's the same close read questions. There's online highlighting features, so that way you parents can see it. And to also just kind of clarify, Unit 1, Quarter 1, the entire theme is milestones. So that whole class learning experience will be on this text, which talks about a milestone. Small group lessons focus on milestones and individual as well. Then Unit 2, the focus is the Holocaust. You'll have a whole group reading on the Diary of Anne Frank is the whole class played. And then you'll have, in the small group learning, small pieces that are nonfiction and some that are fictional that go along with the Holocaust. And then individual. Third quarter, you have the outline there, what matters. The focus is argumentative, the kids figuring out what matters to them. And then you'll see fourth quarter, it's people and the planet. So each quarter has a theme, and within that quarter is the whole class, the small group, and the individual. So what you guys experience would be a whole class lesson.
And here's that online, this is what it'll look like on Clever. It would say Savage Easy Reading. That's their online textbook. And as she talked about
Miss-
milestones being their first topic of the unit, their first major writing is going to be a narrative, a nonfiction narrative about a milestone in their life. So take first quarter to talk to your kids about different milestones in their life, because what I recognized, this was our first year with this unit, and I realized some of my students didn't quite understand milestones. A lot of them feel like, well, nothing big is really happening in my life. But a milestone is anything that's happened in their life to show that your baby is growing. You can talk to them about their first steps. You can talk to them about the day their younger sibling was born. You can, anything that shows my baby is growing up. These are the ways you can help your kid be prepared for that first major writing.
And also included in your bags that were in your seats when you got here is the outline of each unit. And with this outline on the back is also the standards that will be covered in each unit. So if you need extra help from a tutor after school, you can give them this and they'll know how to better facilitate your students' learning. Also inside of that bag is a 180 days reading book, and it includes short passages along with about 4 questions apiece. for you to help them do extra work at home to help better facilitate their learning in the classroom, as our students need a lot of help with critical literacy. Do you have any questions? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Elementary school, has a second grade too, does whatever they're working on in reading kind of lines up with science and social studies? Is that the same thing in middle school? It does.
Unfortunately not.
Oh, okay.
Oh. So, at this time, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the math department and let them teach you.
Good break.
Yeah, we have a break, but clap it up for yourselves on your toes.